Today on the News You Can Use, we have a special guest, Miss Sylvia. For today's News You Can Use, our first topic of the day is how the icon legend Tina Turner has died at the age of 83. What I learned was inspiring that Tina Turner is that she became a big superstar at the age of 40, when most stars her age were beginning to leave the spotlight. Miss Sylvia, how do you think of that?
I think that's awesome. I think it shows that you're never too old to really pursue something that you're passionate about and be successful at it.
Tina Turner was known for being super courageous and using the story of her life to write music. One of her most famous songs is What's Love Got to Do With It? What is your favorite song by Tina Turner?
I actually liked a little bit of the pre-Tina before she came out and got really, really big. She had this song called Nutbush City, which was really cool. My sister and I used to sing it. We actually became familiar with it by her really big movie, which starred Angela Bassett. Not sure if you're familiar, and I may be dating myself by saying that. But it was a really cool song where she was describing the city she grew up in, the church, her school, just really highlighting her community and what made her strong. And I think that's really cool.
That's very cool. Which even was the title of a popular movie about her life. Tina Turner showed others who lived in fear what a beautiful future filled with love, compassion, and freedom should look like. She sold more than 150 million records worldwide. She won 12 Grammys. She was voted along with Ike into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991. Tina Turner was called the Queen of Rock and Roll. Now moving into another twin I know, Blue Ivy. Blue Ivy, a tween like me, continues to steal the spotlight. The oldest daughter of Beyonce and Jay-Z joined her mother on stage in London for the second time since the recent tour launched earlier this month. Just a few days after Springsteen crowds in Paris with an unexpected appearance on stage dancing alongside her mother. Blue Ivy, 11-year-old, took the stage once again in London. She appeared on stage after Beyonce's 41-year-old had been singing My Power from her 2019 The Lion King competition album and started dancing with the other dancers. Beyonce wrote, and also Beyonce, if you are watching this, or even if Blue Ivy is watching this, just know, if you need another backup dancer to dance with Blue Ivy, I'm your girl. Also, Beyonce wrote on his Instagram about Blue Ivy, my beautiful firstborn. I am so proud and thankful to be your mama. The Break My Soul singer wrote alongside a photo and 2 videos from Blue Ivy's appearance at her Paris show. You bring us so much joy, my sweet angel. How do you think about Blue Ivy joining her mother in singing?
I thought it was great when you get to see someone who's young and who really loves what their mother does, and they want to follow in their mother's footsteps. Being given an opportunity to do that is kind of cool. I'm pretty sure you, as a tween who also has a very awesome mom, were you able to see some things in Blue Ivy that kind of helped you to identify?
Yes, I did. Because I go to work with my mom sometimes too, and I get to help her out by being her little assistant. Did your daughter go to work with you sometimes?
When she was younger, she did, but my daughter's no longer a tween. She's a teen, and you'll find that teenagers are different.
Now, this is a very serious topic, my rhinos. Migrants in Chicago. Over 10,000 migrants in Chicago came on buses from the Texas governor. He is like, we have to spread these people out and get help so then other people can help out too. Well, Mayor Brandon Johnson is galloping with how to house hundreds of migrants arriving on buses from the U.S.-Mexican border, with some sleeping in police stations. And earlier today, on the way to the studio, I passed by a police station and I saw migrants standing outside because they can't be in the police station but on the times of 9 and 5 o'clock, which means they have to wait to come back in. All their stuff was outside. They were all sitting out there in the hot heat waiting to get back in the police station. Officials in the third largest city, which is Chicago, have said they cannot afford to rent hotel rooms for all arriving migrants and have pressed for more federal findings. Some migrants seeking for a safe place to sleep have turned to police stations. How do you think that would make someone feel if they were a migrant? How do you think that feels to you or in any sort of way?
I can imagine that I would feel scared. I would feel unsure. I wouldn't know, where will I sleep? Where will my food come from? If I was a mom, how would I take care of my children? How would I keep them safe? And I would really look for someone to help me. As a social worker, I want to help to advocate, which is to really help them to solve this problem, to help them have access to the different resources that our great city of Chicago has. But I'd also want to work with the state of Texas and see what can we do to address it together, because Texas, of course, the issue started in Texas and now it has become something for us to manage. And we want to work together to do that. It's not just one person's problem, it's all of our problem.
Well, that's a wrap for the news you can use. Goodbye.
I'm Corliss Garner, guest hosting the next edition of In the Arena. Our guest this week is the Director of Performance and Mental Health for our beloved Chicago Bulls, Dr. Wendy Balabi.
I think about it in that life comes into play and it starts to affect us. And so I help them work through that piece so that way life is not as stressful.
Join the conversation Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Hey, my rhinos. Today's main topic is mental health. We have a special guest, Miss Sylvia. I have a few statistics I want to go over. Mental health is an important part of children's overall health and well-being. Mental health includes children's mental health, of course, emotion and behavior well-being. It affects how children think, feel, and act. It also plays a role in how children handle sorts of relates. Facts about mental health. ADHD, anxiety problems, behavior problems, and depression are all of somewhat a diagnosis in mental health. For ever having a diagnosis among children aged 3 through 17 years old. In 2016 through 2019 are given below: ADHD 9.8%, anxiety 9.4%, behavior problems 8.9%, and depression 4.4%. So, I wanted to know really quickly, what does that mean as an LCSW? What does that mean for you, and how do you help?
It means that my fellow licensed clinical social workers have a lot of work to do. It means that there are young people who need our help, and that their emotional health and their psychological health and their social well-being, there are challenges there. And my fellow profession folk, that's what we're here for. So that's what I'm definitely interested in. I've always worked with kids. I like kids better than I like adults because kids are very resilient. Things happen to you all and you know how to bounce back a little quicker. So I like that you all can go from being in one place sad and anxious, and with a little bit of help, you all can be a lot healthier and you can resume your normal activities. With adults, therapy is different. With children, for me, it's more rewarding.
So let's get to know you a little better.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a graduate of Clark Atlanta University. I received my master's at the Whitney M. Young Jr. School of Social Work at Clark Atlanta University. And what that means is that I took some additional years after my bachelor's degree to really learn how to be a therapist. And after I received my master's, I took some extra hours of therapy and an internship and a practicum, which are simply the same things. But I got 600 extra hours and then 3,000 extra hours to become licensed.
That is really cool. What is an LCSW?
It is a licensed clinical social worker, and what that means is I have a license that says I can diagnose, I can provide therapy, and I can do all of that without a supervisor.
That is super cool. How long have you been licensed?
I've been licensed now. Ooh, Ryan, you're asking me to go backwards. 11 years, maybe? Yes,
That's
11
a long
years.
time.
It is. Is it?
A little bit. So, where did you go to college?
Clark. I went to the wonderful Clark Atlanta University. I'm very proud of my HBCU. It's a fantastic institution. I'm proud to be a part of their alumni because it's an esteemed institution. And my daughter, which I'm very proud of, wants to go there too. So I feel like I did something pretty good there.
What did you study?
Social work. I got my master's in social work. And in my undergrad, I studied biology, which is totally different than social work. And I received a minor in Black Studies. So I kind of had a really diverse educational background. And I think it all prepared me to be a really good social worker, though. I was able to touch a lot of different areas in the world. And I think it just helped me to be more well-rounded.
What is your favorite part of your job?
Helping people. I absolutely love helping people. I like for people to have an issue, or people who do have an issue. I like helping them break it down, and I like helping them pull on their strengths to really solve their own problems and then become better.
How can you describe mental health to tweens?
I would say it's your thoughts and your feelings and how those thoughts, good or bad, affect your behavior and how you relate to the people in your world, your friends, your family, and how you feel about yourself.
I had a friend in second grade. I was also new to the school, and she just never really wanted to come to school. She was always hiding in the bathroom, crying when she got dropped off. She would never want to come to school. She would never really want to be there at all. I just wanted to know, does that seem like a symptom of depression?
It can be. When we think about mental health, we think about when it impacts negatively your life. So it's not so much feeling sad and feeling down, because that happens normally, right?
Yes.
If we lose a game, or say we don't receive an A on a test that we studied a lot for, you can feel sad and depressed about that, or down about that.
Yeah.
But when that sadness or depression or your fears or your worries are so great that it affects how you interact with your world, so with school, if your grades begin to fall, if it affects how you interact with people around you, so if you no longer want to hang out with your friends, or those things that you used to participate in that you loved so much, like going shopping or maybe hanging out with your friends at the mall, when you no longer want to do those things, when you avoid things, that's when your mental health probably should be addressed. So it sounds like your friend had an extreme reaction to something, school, being the new student, and maybe being anxious about that, and she probably needed to talk to someone about it.
What can tweens do to have good mental health?
Good mental health is really about relating to the things in your world in a positive way. Getting a nice routine together, getting up at a good time in the morning, eating a wonderful breakfast to keep you energized and ready for school, doing things that keep you focused, help you to concentrate, not only at school but at home, really having a good support system of adults that you can bounce ideas off of, and asking a lot of questions. I know that when I was a tween, not so long ago, I had a lot of questions, and I used to ask all of the adults around me different things so that I wasn't so confused about things. Sometimes when you're confused or you think it may not be a good question, you don't ask it. And if you don't ask, no one's going to help you. So I would say just to talk to the people around you and, be positive. And if you can't do that, then get some help.
What is the definition between being sad and being depressed?
I think sadness is really just a normal human reaction. We can be sad to a lot of things. Actually, this morning I wanted to get a donut, and I found that my daughter had ate the last donut. I was kind of sad about that. But as you can see, I bounced back. Depression is more sadness that is also other emotions that are in there, like feeling helpless, having no hope. The things that used to bring you joy don't bring you joy anymore. That's more depression, and that's when you need to talk to someone. But just basic sadness, it happens to us. And those of us who have some pretty decent mental health, we're able to bounce back. So it's more so when you can't bounce back to where you used to be, doing the things that you used to do to bounce back.
Sometimes I have anxiety. What can I do to manage it?
It depends on how much anxiety, but some really good things that work for me is breathing. And I try to take apart what exactly is making me anxious. So why am I nervous? What can I do about those nerves? Is this a reaction that I'm supposed to have, or am I just reading too much into it? It's really being in tune with yourself, asking yourself questions, calming yourself down. Breathing really helps. You know what I really love for anxiety, though? Music. I really love to listen to music. It kind of calms me down. It gets me to focus on something else, and something that's called self-talk or positive self-talk. And that's when you say, okay, Miss Sylvia, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. Deep breath, relax. You got this. You can do this. And that's a really good thing. Self-talk is really awesome. It's probably the tool I employ the most as an adult is self-talk. Like telling myself all the time, you got this.
Thank you so much for coming, Miss Sylvia. And now you are officially a rhino.
Hey.
Hey, my rhinos. Today on Ryan's Fun Zone, we'll be talking about how I went to my first concert. So my first concert was when I went to a Lizzo concert. I was packing for something, and my mom surprised me with this shirt that said "The Special Tour" with Lizzo on it. I was like, what is this for? Then she said, do you know where you're going? I started running around the house screaming, yes, 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 let's go. And then I changed clothes super quick, put on my glasses, got my purse, and I was ready to go. As soon as we got there, I was so excited. Hey, my rhinos. So right now I am going to a Lizzo concert, my first ever concert ever. I am very excited, and I hope to see you next time. After that, we went to the bathroom, so we didn't have to go. We got pizza, and I think it was probably kind of in the middle of the concert where I got this Lizzo bag. It was the cutest. After that, then we went back to the stadium, and we kept watching. My favorite costume she wore was probably this pretty black and pink jumper that she wore for like the first 3 or 4 minutes of it. And then after that, inside I felt like, let's go, this is my first ever Lizzo concert. I'm going to be so pumped. I was singing and dancing to all of the songs. I even called my grandma for one of the songs because she really wanted to hear one. And I made sure that I fulfilled that wish. It was the coolest time ever. And when I saw that Lizzo came out, she always comes out with this big entrance. She came out from under the floor, and smoke just surrounded her entire area. And then she came out with the best songs. Juice is probably one of my favorites, but my grandma's favorite is Special. I also like that song too. And really, it was a very nice and fun experience. She threw a rose, and I actually caught it. It was so exciting. The next day when I went to school, I told all my friends about it. it was like my dream come true. My first ever concert is like the best. Well, that's all for today on Ryan's Fun Zone. Bye. Ryan's Rumble. Today on Ryan's Rumble, we'll be doing what's the better pet, cats or dogs? So, cats are low-maintenance pets. Simply just need water and food, clean litter boxes, and along with plenty of affection on their thing. You have to cut their claws though, which means if you don't, they'll scratch you. I have a friend who has a cat, and I have an older sister who has a cat. My older sister's cat doesn't really like kids too much, but she likes me most of all. And my friend's cat, she likes everyone, and I love her cat too. It's a ginger cat. There's different types of colored cats. My favorite type of cat is probably a ginger cat too. Now for dogs. The reason why dogs require more space to run around and play because they're dogs. They need room because they're high energy and they always are running around somewhere. They need to be groomed a lot, like maybe once or twice a month. Give plenty of affection. I have a dog. He gives me so much love and affection, and that's why I love dogs so much. Makes owner feel safe. My dog, I know if someone ever tried to break in, he would start barking to the top of his lungs. By that time, I'd already be downstairs and calling the police. But I have a dog, and he makes me feel so special all the time. And I love cats too. But I think sometimes cats are sometimes a little bit more better than dogs just because they're easier to tame and stuff like that. It takes more energy and more time to be with a dog because they have to take walks, have to go outside and pee and poop, and it's a lot of work. But I have a dog and I make it all work. You have to buy food for them, have to give them water, which is what a cat also has too. You have to make sure that your dog is toilet trained, of course, because if they're not, they're going to poop all around your house and pee, which is not what we like to see. But my favorite is dogs. Goodbye. Hey, my rhinos. Today on Ryan's Book Nook, we'll be talking about Babysitter's Little Sister, Karen's Witch. Karen Brewer lives next door to Mrs. Peter, who wears long robes and has wild gray hair. This sounds scary. I love this book though. It's one of my faves. Mrs. Potter has a black cat named Midnight and always seems to be working in her garden. Karen isn't supposed to spy on her neighbor, but she's determined to prove that Mrs. Potter is a witch named Marjorie Disney. I'm pretty sure she's not a witch. She's just a lady who has wild gray hair and wears lots of long robes. No one really is a witch in the world unless it's Halloween, of course, which is one of the best times of the year where you get to dress up and be funny. Mrs. Potter is getting ready to have a special meeting at her house, and Karen is sure the meeting is for witches. Are they going to cast a spell on Karen, or will she be brave enough to send them away once and for all? Well, I don't think she's really a witch though, but hey, that's what she thinks, and Karen's literally very young, like me, so we have wild imaginations, which means we can think anybody is anything, just like how like how Karen thinks Mrs. Potter is a witch. And I know if I had a neighbor like this, I would probably think so too, because witches are scary and they look like that. But I don't think she rides on a broomstick or wears a really funny hat. I just think she's a regular neighbor that is in her garden a lot and has a black cat named Midnight. I've seen people with black cats before. They're not really that scary, and they're not even that bad of luck. Well, that's all for today on Ryan's Book Cook. Bye!